Hello, 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 and welcome to the College of Creation. My name is Dan.
And my name is Michael.
And we are Dungeons & Dragons DMs who love to homebrew item spells, creatures, features, etc. for Dungeons & Dragons. So many, many things.
All of those things.
It's a wealth of things. And we make new things on this show every single week based on prompts that we get from our listeners. And this week we were tasked with another strange prompt. We've been getting hit, left, right, sideways, and upside down with all
3 weeks in a row
really
now.
Strange
with
prompts.
Really, yeah. I don't mind it though. This one was very fun. I thought that this one was great.
This one is maybe one of the strangest and most sort of like specific in one way, but also like very open-ended in another way kind of prompt that we've ever gotten.
Specific in a way that doesn't give any mechanical advantage for building.
Yeah, there's no real direction within it. It was just create a spell that requires smoked cedar wood as a component. That's it. It's the whole thing.
How many did you end up including in your final product?
Well, so I ended up making a spell, but then I decided to veer off of the route of spells for a second creation.
Oh, okay.
But I did find myself doing something that I don't often or always do with these things. Last week, both of us made something that was inspired by pop culture, right?
Yeah.
And in the past, you've brought things that were inspired by like real life, ideas or objects.
Sure.
And pulled them into the game world. But we haven't done many things that have required me to do like research.
Yeah.
Like, that have required me to like open up some books or like look into some like .org and .edu websites to be like, what am I dealing with here? And this week I was delighted to have the opportunity to go and do some of that because I really decided to go into like, what's the deal with wood?
What is the deal with cedar wood? I also did a little bit of research. It doesn't sound like mine was as extensive as yours.
Perhaps not. Although I just, I get into Wikipedia rabbit holes like anyone else. A fair bit of that for me this week, which actually probably cut into the like creative time. So some of these might not be as sort of like polished as they might otherwise, or anything like that. But that's okay. Yeah, it was a very fun and weird time, but I got to tell you, Michael, I am excited for us to land a prompt that's just like smooth sailing.
Make a subclass. Yeah.
We do need another subclass. My goodness.
Make one longsword. That's
just
it.
One longsword. That's it. Nothing else. But, yeah. How has your D&D life been recently? Otherwise,
Great. We finished our play-by-post game a couple weeks ago that I was DMing and you were a player in. That went really well. I feel like that game kind of came to almost too perfect of a close. I can't believe that it just tied itself up like it did, but I'm not complaining about that.
It was really nice.
I'm still playing in your game, enjoying that very much. And then I'm going to start another play-by-post game with a new party full of people that have not played before in October. So I'm
Amazing.
feeling good. How about you?
It's been good. I am running a couple of live games as well as that play-by-post game you talked about. It's been really good, and I've been having a lot of fun recently, actually like homebrewing at the table in the moment, that sort of thing. Helping to encourage my players to do some of that too. I don't know if we talked about on the podcast, but I had one player in one game who was really excited about having like a toy that had like a minor magical effect, and we came up sort of together.
The sticky hand?
Yeah. So
the
arcane sticky hand was a creation that happened at the table, and I really loved that experience, so I wanted to do more of that. So I have another game that's a little bit of a flip of Rime of the Frost Maiden. I mess around with settings and modules a lot. Like sometimes I'll use that as a starting point, but often I will, let the story decide what it wants to be. And anyway, they found this like super conductive magical material that they happen to know an artificer to create new items for them. And I made it clear up front, like the items that he can create from this stuff aren't necessarily like one-to-one items from the player's handbook. They'll be kind of decided by what you all want. So we'll talk about what are the things that would be interesting to you. Are you interested in having a utility item? Are you interested in having something more of a combat-focused item, something for marshals, something for casters? How strong do you want it to be? Do you need to go collect more of this stuff in order for him to do that?
Right.
And then when it comes to the actual crafting, I want you all to have a little bit of a hand in it.
That's great. Anything that can prompt players to create in that way, homebrew at the table, or even just like take ideas with them between games and then come back with something. Really great to hear.
That's another really cool reason that I really like the play-by-post as well, is because you can, especially on something like a Discord, if you're using that for the organizational structure, you can have a sort of separate thread for that sort of creative, out of character, but still brainstorming in the world and still like coming up with like, what can we do to combine your stuff with my stuff and like, come up with something cool. Is there something we can do with this? What's up? And having the avenue to do that with people who are engaged in the text-based version of it already. You've got just another channel that it's like, oh, there's an update in this channel. Cool. It's not like main narrative channel, but there's still stuff to do. There's still things to latch onto. There's still interaction to happen there. So that's great.
Absolutely.
The other, I think the other fun things that I've been getting up to is just starting to dig into new rules. I'm loving a few of the things that I'm finding.
Yeah.
There's a homebrew rule that I have used for a long time that they have now put into the rules regarding the help action. So now they've specifically and explicitly split out the help action into a combat-focused help action and an ability check-focused help action. And with the ability check-focused help action, you have to have proficiency in the tool or skill you are helping with. And I think, and I've used that for years, and I think it's just so much
good.
More clean. It actually like helps with some of the narrative aspects of why you might want to like have multiple people with proficiency in a thing. But also it avoids the problem of like, if you're in a regular adventuring exploration situation, somebody in the party is always going to be like, can I give the help action to this thing? It's like, well, I mean, technically, yes.
Let me give you some free advantage.
I don't, there should be ways to do it that feel a little more narratively satisfying.
Right. I like all those things. One of my favorite things that I have recently discovered and looked into is class specific. In the Warlock class, the invocations that were previously just for Eldritch Blast are now able to be applied to any damage-dealing cantrip.
Oh.
Did you know this?
No, I didn't know that.
So
like agonizing
blast Eldritch Spear, Grasp of Hadar, all of those can be for Ray of Frost or Firebolt or my new favorite cantrip, Starry Wisp.
It's a great.
That's a new. It's a new radiant-based cantrip. Really am enjoying that. But yeah, warlocks can. They can have any cantrip be their Eldritch Blast now. It doesn't have to be Eldritch Blast.
Give me some agonizing Toll the Dead.
Right.
Oh yeah, I can mess with that. No, that's really cool. That's. There are a lot of choices that I'm noticing are being made across the whole book to provide. Like on the character sheet, a very explicit.
It's very clear.
Like for new players especially, or for players who maybe are sort of stuck in a single mindset of how you can play, it's providing things that have maybe always existed in the game, or like most DMs will go along with, but like it has put it explicitly in front of the player to say this is an option for you.
Yeah, it's a very good grouping of things that were either hidden within D&D Beyond that you kind of had to search around for, or weren't explicitly stated within the rules or actions, or things that didn't have functionality before. Every class's level 19 feature now is an epic boon, which has been a thing in the game since 2014 and has not had any functionality in D&D Beyond at all. Like it just wasn't possible, and now they have it built into each character's progression, which I think is very cool. Just a lot of good ideas. I feel like, rightfully so, I think WotC has gotten a lot of flack over the past year and a half. I think a lot of it has been well-deserved. But one thing that I think they have done well is put out very timely playtests and beta testing, and actually listened to the information that was returned to them. Because it feels fleshed out. It feels well established.
And let's be very upfront about it here. Like, to me, that is that's an entirely different set of people who I say are responsible for those things. I think Jeremy Crawford has a great love of the game. And is,
I agree. Hard agree.
Absolutely going about the like design aspects of new games, and his whole team, and I think everybody that's working very hard to make this game keep coming out is doing a wonderful job, and I very much appreciate all of the work that you do. The company you work for, unfortunately, has business practices that I think are often troubling, and reasonably so.
Troubling to the point that it may overshadow your hard work.
And that's the thing. That's sort of the tricky part of it, right? Is that this is still a really good game, it's hard to feel like you want to support it when certain things go down. And I feel like that, that is true of a number of gaming companies as well. The design aspects that go into so many games are made with such love and care, and by people who really deeply love the hobby. And I think the business decisions are being made by people who love the business. I think that's a different perspective, and I do wish that Wizards of the Coast as a company held more of that love for gaming and gamers close to its, ethos when it comes to how they do business, because I do think that they have designers who really do start from that place. And it'd be great if that company aligned in those aspects a little bit more. Yeah.
If you could just synergize a little bit more. Come on, Chris Cox.
Yeah, I think that it's such a complicated situation, and I think it's certainly a conversation worth having, and I don't begrudge anybody their perspective on any of it. I personally make a little bit of my living through running Dungeons and Dragons games, not an overwhelming amount, but I know people who it is a primary source of income. That they run games at their local game store, or they run games online, either Roll20 or D&D Beyond, or start playing games. People don't often sign up for non-D&D games. Certainly not in the numbers that they sign up for.
Correct. Yeah, the ratio is staggering.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've spoken to many people who it takes them 2 months for a Call of Cthulhu game even to fill up, and they can get a D&D game filled up within a week. It's a more reliable thing. So those people can't necessarily make the choice to abandon D&D entirely.
Hard agree. I don't think it's anyone's place, especially somebody on the internet who is a stranger to somebody else, to suggest that you are less than for playing a specific game. And that's all in light of everything that the pillar of the TTRPG community has done recently.
I'll just close out by saying that, obviously what we do here is homebrewing for D&D. It's the system I think that both of us know and love best.
Yes.
It's the one that we understand the bits and pieces of, like you have said before, the syntax, and understanding the syntax of whatever game you're playing is really important. when it comes to homebrewing. And so because of our deep knowledge of that, that's the things that we make here. And all of that is to say that I don't support a lot of the business decisions of Wizards of the Coast, but I still love this game deeply, and I'm still going to keep making stuff. I hope nobody holds that against me or you, but I think that my love for the game and my love for crafting things for the game and within the boundaries of this game is just not something I feel like I can let go of.
I agree. It's the first TTRPG that I played, and the one that has stuck around throughout my entire time as a player and as a DM.
It's great stuff. Great stuff.
In that vein, Dan, we have created things for our episode today, and I think it's high time we shift over to see what those are.
I agree.
Would you like...
Would I like to go first? I absolutely would.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, let me let you breathe. Wonderful. Well, like I said, this week our prompt was to come up with a spell that requires smoked cedar wood as a component. I think it was a vial of smoked cedar wood as a component. I didn't do that exactly by the letter of the law.
Yeah,
but
I
it's
didn't
fine.
either. I didn't use a vial.
I also decided to go outside of the boundaries of Cedar. Open up your document, and you will see Magic of the Wood.
Oh, types of wood.
Indeed.
Interesting.
Indeed.
Okay.
So I made two things here, both of which involve a sizable table. This required a fair amount of research and thinking about trees. And I must say, I owe a great debt to Justin Davies on TikTok, Justin the Trees. Have you seen this guy? He made a U.S. map of all of the state trees of each state.
Oh! Yes, I have seen his content. Yes.
But he's made a bunch of other stuff. He makes a lot of stuff out of wood. He started a new, larger map using not the state trees, but trees that he likes from each state or the native region. And in all of these, he does a lot of talking about, what are the uses of these trees? What are these trees all about? Where are they found? How did they get here? What's the deal with them? And I watched a lot of those. I read a lot of things on the internet about certain trees and what they have been used for, both for indigenous purposes, for what is constructed out of them usually, all of these various things. I had a great time doing all of this and came up with two things that give you various effects based on the type of wood you are using, all of these inspired by some use of this tree that exists in our real world. So, the first one here is called Blessed Fire. This is a 7th level enchantment spell. It has a casting time of 1 hour, a range of 30 feet, components, somatic, material, verbal, the material component being a log of wood chosen from the types listed which the spell consumes. It has a duration of 24 hours. It is restricted to the Druid, Cleric, Nature Domain, Paladin, Oath of Ancients, and Ranger classes. I don't know why I actually put Ranger there. I think I was thinking about that when I had it at a lower level. But Rangers can't have this because you don't get 7th level spells.
It's too high.
Sorry.
Yep.
I had this at a lower level before and I left Ranger on there. My bad. So no Rangers, just Druids, Clerics, Nature, and Paladins, Ancients. You can cast this spell during a long rest at a suitable camp in the wilderness to carry out a ritual, burning a log of wood which you bless over the course of the casting. When you finish casting the spell, the log burns up and all creatures within 30 feet of your campfire gain a benefit for the following 24 hours determined by the type of wood used as listed below. These effects include birchwood, which gives you a flying speed equal to your walking speed, but you must land at the end of your movement. This is inspired by the paper birch, which its bark comes off in these like papery sheets. So almost like a paper airplane sort of inspiration there. Then you have cedar. You can cast ritual spells without expending an additional 10 minutes. Often smoked cedar is used in various notable rituals. throughout. So the idea that it would tie into ritual is in there. Then we have dogwood. You are under the effects of the Speak with Animals spell. That's more about the name than anything else.
Sure.
Dogwoods have been used to treat dogs with mange. Elm. You have advantage on text to avoid being grappled or shoved. This comes from the idea that elm has a particularly interesting internal structure that grabs onto itself very tightly, and so makes for good framing structure for things that you don't want to like splinter and split and break easily. It holds onto itself a lot better. Maple, you have advantage on all charisma checks and saving throws. That's just because you're a little bit sweeter from all that maple syrup. Then you have oak. Oak has been described by Nick Offerman as perhaps the most reliable of the woods. Your proficiency bonus increases by 1 for that one.
Fair. I like that.
Poplar has a lot of, specifically the tulip tree, which is often called poplar, has a lot of medicinal uses, like across the board. Every part of it has been used in some sort of medicine, it would seem. So that you regain the maximum amount of HP from all healing sources for that one. Redwood, those gigantic sequoias and redwoods, your jump distance and carrying capacity are doubled. It just makes you a little more athletic, strong, beefy, big. And then spruce twigs have been given traditionally in certain areas as a sign of good luck and good fortune. So when you roll a 1 on the d20 for a d20 test, you can re-roll it and use the second result. And that's it. So if you burn those types of wood around your campfire and do this ritual, you and all your friends get a little bonus based on the type of wood that is burned.
Nice. Very, very cool. And I'm so happy that you did the research, that you put the time in to make this.
I had a really fun time trying to figure out what was gonna work with each sort of thing. And you know, I know this is obviously a big bonus, right? 24 hours of something pretty, for the most part, pretty major. Dogwood a little bit less so, but like, you know, depending on the situation, could be really useful. But it is 7th level. You're not likely to have more than one 7th level spell slot at any given time. And if you're going to save it until you get to camp to burn it on this, you should be rewarded for doing that. That's fine. You can have that, right?
Yeah.
You're a high-level spellcaster. You know, you've saved your 7th level spell slot and are going to burn it on this. Great. Do it. So that's a nice little benefit. And then we go down to the second one. The second one is your favorite, a consumable magical item.
Gosh, straight to my heart.
These are just wooden tokens.
Made just for me.
Yeah.
I love it.
Little wooden tokens. This is a wondrous item, all uncommon. These small wooden tokens are made from various woods, carved with images of trees, leaves, and magical symbols, and are often worn as necklaces or bracelet charms. When the wearer takes fire damage or otherwise exposes the token to fire, it can use a reaction to immediately release the contained spell, consuming the item. The token automatically targets the wearer for single target spells, and ranged effects are centered on the token. If it's not being worn when it is exposed to fire, it targets the nearest creature instead. And then the token has a save DC of 13 as a base. These include birch has absorb elements because birch is also very good as a fire starter. It's an incredible fire starter, especially that like papery bark will just catch very quickly and be able to keep a fire going. Cedar, again, that idea of ritual, but also cedar smoke being used as a repellent for lots of pests. Protection from good and evil. Cypress is a Louisiana tree. Have you ever been through or seen a cypress forest that's all like halfway in the water with these like, bulbous roots going into the water? You just get water walk for that one. They're incredibly like water resistant.
That's great.
They are resistant to a lot of that rot. Magnolia has some properties that make it quite a useful anti-anxiety traditional medicine. So you get calm emotions for that token. Pine, with all that like sappy, piney tar and pitch that comes out of pine, you can cast Spider Climb.
Perfect fit. Yeah.
Redwoods, again, huge, massive trees. You can cast not in glare, in large, enlarge only. So the enlarge reduce spell, but only the enlarge version of it. And then tulip trees or tulip poplar, again with those medicinal aspects to it, gives you lesser restoration. So there you go. And I specifically like this one because of the way it needs to interact with fire in order to activate. You can't choose to activate this except for I need to expose this to fire. So you either take some fire damage and you decide now's the time, I will burn this, or you're making the active choice to take this token and to burn it to make the effect happen.
Yeah, it's a very cool spin on like a contingency type of thing. The Chronergy Wizard ability.
Yeah.
I can never remember that. This is a much more accessible version of that with limited spells, but it has so much more flavor. This would be great to have just like prayer bead style, like a chain of these around your neck, like a druid with a bunch of wooden tokens around their neck. I really like this a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be dope for a wildfire druid, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because then you could just light it up and shoot out your first level spells.
Yeah, I mean, these are all pretty low level spells. None of them are super aggressively damage dealing. Most of them are, I mean, they're pretty split between like really utilitarian and a little bit more, broadly useful overall. Yeah. And also there is the aspect to both of these that anybody who's a little bit more, well practiced and well versed in tree studies or biology. What in the world is there a word for this?
An arborist?
Yeah.
An arborist?
I don't know. If you're an arborist, or if you know anything about trees, or if you know more than one man taking a 1 week deep dive into Wikipedia about trees, you can add to this, right? You can very easily add, this one's, it's none of these. I made one of these tokens made of oak instead. And I know a thing about oak, so it's going to do that. It's going to have bark skin or something, right? Or I know, let's put a palm tree in there and have that do something else as well, based on something I know about that kind of tree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Do it. I encourage it. I want you to do that. But I love the consumable nature of it. I love that these just like burn away. They're just little like wooden burnable things.
One and done. I would love to have, maybe when we update these, the process for making these.
Ooh, that'd be good.
How does a druid take a tree? We're going to chop this tree down, but we're going to use every bit of this tree to make things that are usable. How do we make these? That's what I want to know. And how do we make them for higher level spells too?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. How do you
commune with a tree for like a week, and then you can get a 5th level token or something?
That'd be pretty wild.
These are great. But
I don't imagine that it was all that close to what you did. So tell me, what do you got?
Not at all. If you would please, Dan, open your document. I have 3 spells today. I think that all of them are pretty unique. As you also explained in your pitch, cedarwood historically has been used in a lot of ritualistic things. It can be very medicinal as well. It is known to have a lot of anti-inflammatory and antibacterial properties. So all of these deal with some type of healing or protection of some kind. So we'll dig into the first one here. This is called Enrichment. This is a 4th level abjuration. Casting time of 1 action, the range of self, and it requires concentration up to 1 minute. Around your body, you create a tough and rigid bark-like husk. Until the spell ends, you are restrained and incapacitated, but you gain a +4 bonus to your armor class. Additionally, until the spell ends, you gain 2d8 hit points at the end of each of your turns. So you just hole up and take the hits, hoping that you can avoid them, and you can gain health back. Nice. You can upcast this when you cast the spell using a slot of 5th level or higher. The armor class bonus increases by 1, and your hit points gained increases by 1d8 for each slot level above 4th. So if you have the higher spell slot to burn, and you really need to get out of a bad situation, cast it at 7th level, and You'll get
Yeah.
+7 to your bonus or to your armor class, and you regain 5d8 at the end of each of your turns, up to a minute.
This would fit perfectly into your druid spells, too. This is great.
Yeah, all three of these kind of like were an offshoot of
Yeah.
of those spells. Yeah. My second spell here is called Incense Cloud. It's a second level evocation spell with a casting time of 1 action. So, I can't. Hold on 1 second. I can't.
You're all good.
Can't focus.
Yeah. Take care of whatever the cat needs.
Hi, baby. What do you need?
In the meantime, while Michael is taking care of his cat, I'm just here to say hello to the listeners. How are you? I hope you're doing so good. I hope you're having a great day, a great end of the year as we approach there. We love having you here. We love having you listen to the show. If you like it, if you're having a good time hearing the things that we make, we'd love it if you dropped us a review on wherever you listen to this podcast. Additionally, we'd love it if you come over and join us on the Patreon. That's patreon.com/College of Creation Pod. And hang out with us there. You can get access to all the creations that we've made at the free tier. And if you want to hang out a little bit more, join us at the $5 tier, and you get access to some bonus episodes, compendiums of our creations, and we just really appreciate you so much. Otherwise, we're just so happy to have you here, and thank you for listening to the show. Thanks for supporting us with your ears. Say hi to your pets for us. Bye.
All right.
How's the cat?
I don't know. She usually is not this vocal. I refilled her water and I got her more food, and she still followed me back upstairs and is still...
She's still going crazy.
We're just going to keep going, though.
All right.
So my second spell is called Incense Cloud. It's a second level evocation spell with a casting time of 1 action, a range of 60 feet, and a 5-foot radius sphere. Obviously, the components are verbal, somatic, and the material is a sachet this time of cedarwood chips, so like a bag of cedarwood chips, that is burned and consumed when you cast the spell. This is also a concentration spell up to 1 minute. So, billowing out from your lit cedar chips, a plume of fragrant smoke unfurls in a 5-foot radius sphere centered on a point of your choice within range. On each of your subsequent turns, you can use a bonus action to move the sphere up to 10 feet in any direction. And whenever a creature enters or begins their turn within the sphere, they gain a number of temp hit points equal to your spellcasting ability modifier. The spaces within the sphere are heavily obscured, and while inside it, all creatures are immune to disease. This can also be upcast when you cast the spell using a slot of 3rd level or higher. The radius of the sphere increases by 5 feet for each slot above 2nd. So you're just increasing the area of the sphere, not necessarily the temp hit points. But that's it.
Yeah,
that
nice.
is Incense Cloud. And my third spell down at the bottom here is called Primal Morsels. This is a 3rd level enchantment spell. The casting time is 1 hour. The range of touch. This, you need a cluster of cedar chips and fresh meat from a beast. So you also need meat to use in the casting of this spell. The duration is instantaneous upon finishing the casting. Setting chips of cedar aflame. You imbue the smoke with pure natural magic. Using the heat of the flame and flavor of the smoke, you create 1d8 plus 2 pieces of perfectly smoked meat. When a creature consumes one of these primal morsels, one condition from the following list can be healed: blinded, deafened, incapacitated, paralyzed, poisoned, or stunned. So you're just using them as a restoration.
Nice.
Again, like we talked about in the Wondrous Food episode, I thought about putting in an expiry date.
Yeah.
Like if you don't use them within 24 hours, they become inert. And I talked myself out of it. I just felt like this one needed to be really simple. I didn't include an upcast for this or anything. I thought that this would just be a really good, very simple 3rd level spell. I was thinking maybe a ranger exclusive spell for this.
I kind of like that as an idea.
Yeah, because a lot of their spells are very practical. A lot of the ranger spells use like rope or a bell or whatever for their casting, and this feels very similar to that. So I was thinking maybe ranger and druid, maybe nature cleric, but I think I like the idea of just having it as a ranger spell.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Thanks, man.
Big fan of... Yeah, something that it definitely feels very Ranger exclusive almost. But yeah, I think the other ones are really great. I love Enrichment. I think that's a very cool one. It has the vibes of that, that idea that I think we both like of like, making the choice to not move, to implant yourself, but with a bonus that sort of makes you kind of unhittable or very near unhittable. Obviously, if this is primarily a druid spell, +4 bonus to armor class is certainly no joke. Being able to bump that up to +5, +6, whatever, is also pretty great. But just that like nice hit point bonus is also very cool. I think that'd be really fun. And Incense Cloud is it has this like reverse flaming spear sort of vibe to it,
Yeah.
It's healing based, but it has very similar like movement and size and all of that stuff. So it's moving around the field. Not so much the fire, but the smoke. I like that.
Yeah, I liked this prompt a lot this week. I think much like these other two, the past two that we've done, it took me a minute to figure out where I wanted to go, like which direction I wanted to take. But once I got there, I had a lot of fun with it. Felt good.
It was a good one. It was a surprisingly good one, I guess I'll say. I wasn't expecting, I think, to even be able to land it at all, based on how sort of unique and open-ended it was. But we got there in the end.
Both of us were skeptical last week when this was rolled.
It was just sort of like,
what is happening?
I'm not sure how we even start to think about that. But I like it. I think it works.
Well, I'm going to pull up our rollable table.
Sounds great.
If you want to get a D20 out, let's see what we're going to be making for next week.
All right, let's see. We've got... Ooh, that is a 3.
A 3 is a feat or item that changes a creature's spell casting ability.
Interesting. Another one from Kyle on the Discord. Thanks, Kyle. What I'm interested in with this one is how do we interpret the word changes?
Right.
I think that's going to be where the fun and the interest is to be found here.
Correct. Does it change it to a different one of the 6 established abilities? Does it
change some
boost
aspect
the ability
of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be where we end up with a little bit of interesting fun to be had.
Yeah, a feat or item that changes a creature's spell casting ability. Interesting. That's a good prompt. That is a good prompt.
Ooh, I have an idea for this already that I might recycle from an old thing that actually feels like it might work really well here. Ooh, I'm excited now. I think I've already got something like in the back of my brain percolating here.
Already brewing?
That should be a good time.
Okay.
I love rolling for a new prompt, Michael. I always get excited.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Thank you again, Kyle, for that prompt. And yeah, everybody else, keep sending in your prompts. We'd love to have them. Until then, till we speak again about these feats or items, Michael, do you have something to say to the people before we say goodbye?
Dan, I always have something to say to the people before we say goodbye, and today's is stolen by another fantastic voice in the TTRPG community, and that is Matt Colville. If you're not familiar with Matt Colville, go to YouTube right now and subscribe to his page. He has the most detailed, cultivated list of DM tips in very short, digestible video form of any creator, I think. I was going back and I was listening to some of his discussions about DMing and game design and things like that just a couple days ago, and I was inspired by something that he said in his video about the difference between story and adventure. A lot of the things that he covers in that video, it's about 15 minutes long. I highly recommend you go and watch that if you are a DM, especially if you're a new DM. A lot of the things that he covers in that video have to do with what the DM prepares versus where the players want to take the story organically, and how those two things can kind of butt heads if either party isn't willing to give 100% and work collaboratively. And I think there's a lot of value in speaking about that, even if one of those parties is not all the way there. The two parties being the game master and the table, the players at the table. So I don't know if this is necessarily an official thing that I'm signing off the episode with, other than go watch Matt Colville's videos. Yep. But just something to consider if you're a new player and a new DM. Things don't have to be perfect, as long as you are aware that there will be some type of give and take with the things that you create and bring to the game. It's not always going to be 100% synergistic, but as long as you're trying to collaborate with your players, or as a player collaborate with your DM, it can certainly get there, or as close to getting there as is necessary for your table.
It might not ever be perfect, but it's what matters is if you're trying to just make it better always.
Right. Yeah. Just collaborate and communicate and voice your opinions and concerns, and the more you do those things, the closer your table can get to whatever your version of perfect is.
And I certainly couldn't agree more about the recommendation for MCDM, the whole Matt Colville
so good
universe of tips, tricks, and additional homebrew content. They make a lot of supplements for D&D that have been incredibly useful to me. Strongholds and followers, the idea, the way that he utilizes allies, or the framework that he created for having allies and followers, so good. So go check out all of that content as well. I mean, he's a huge creator, doesn't need us to send people his way, but we're going to do it anyway.
Certainly not. Certainly not.
But hey, I agree with you as well on the point of collaboration and working together to try and make the game better for everyone involved. We hope you all take that to heart. Keep doing that. Keep creating. And we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hey everyone, Michael here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the College of Creation. If you want to see our creations from this episode and all of our past episodes, you can find those for free on our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/College of Creation Pod. If you feel like supporting us further, you can become a patron and access a few bonus recordings, like top 10 lists, D&D related games, and conversations that were cut from full episodes for time. If you have any questions or a homebrew prompt you'd like to see Dan and I tackle on the show, you can send those to collegeofcreationpod@gmail.com. And our intro and outro music is by Fuserwolf. You can check out his content on Bandcamp and Spotify. Again, thank you all so much for listening.